Two federal decisions are landing right now, one at the International Trade Commission and one at the U.S. Treasury, and both have direct consequences for Indiana's manufacturing supply chains. The ITC's Quartz Tariff Remedy Report is due today, and in Clark County, a major solar cell plant is roughly 2 months from commercial launch, with its primary subsidy stream still legally unresolved. These are not distant policy abstractions. The window to get positioned ahead of these rulings is closing, and it's closing fast. The Quartz Manufacturing Alliance of America is a coalition that includes Minnesota-based Cambria, Daltile, a subsidiary of Mohawk Industries, and several other domestic producers. They've already petitioned the U.S. International Trade Commission under Section 201 for a 50% global safeguard tariff on all engineered quartz surface imports, regardless of country of origin. The ITC's remedy report to the president is due today, May 18th. So here's what makes Section 201 different from the AD CVD orders you've seen before. It requires no finding of unfair trade practices from any specific country. It targets every import source simultaneously, and it lands in an administration that has already demonstrated it will use tariffs aggressively. Now, here's the structural problem that isn't getting enough attention, so pay attention. The prior anti-dumping countervailing duty orders on Chinese, Indian, and Turkish quartz, imposed starting in 2019, renewed just last December, didn't stop the import surge. Buyers rerouted through Vietnam and Thailand. The market is already running the same play again. Indian engineered quartz imports collapsed 61% year over year by January 2026. And separately, Brazilian quartzite, a natural stone product that sits entirely outside the tariff net, surged nearly 100% versus the same month a year earlier, hitting $57 million in January 2026. Those are different product categories serving overlapping but distinct end users. So the data doesn't confirm one-for-one substitution. What it is consistent with is buyers pre-positioning toward natural stone alternatives instead of the ITC decision, though some of that surge likely reflects inventory front-running rather than permanent sourcing challenges. Either way, Indiana fabricators in the residential construction and kitchen and bath remodeling supply chain need to know that natural stone alternatives are moving fast and fall entirely outside whatever tariff the president ultimately imposes. The president has full discretion to adopt, modify, or reject the ITC's proposed remedy. Whatever he decides sets the tariff imposition timeline. If your supplier mix includes engineered quartz, the time to audit that exposure is today. It's not after the next announcement. Now, we've been tracking this one, the Canadian Solar Jeffersonville facility, and it now has appeared twice in the past 24 days on TEG Daily. And today, there are new details that sharpen the financial picture very considerably. The plant entered trial production earlier this year. Commercial operation is targeted in approximately 2 months. Phase 1 carries 2.1 gigawatts peak of solar cell capacity, with a Phase 2 addition of 4.2 gigawatts peak planned for 2027, bringing total capacity to 6.3 gigawatts peak. The investment is $800 million. Committed jobs stand at approximately 1,200, including 150 engineers. So here's what makes this facility structurally different from every other China-linked U.S. solar operation. Jinko Solar, Longi, Trina, JA Solar, they've all built U.S. plants, but only at the module assembly level. Canadian Solar is manufacturing solar cells, the upstream component that determines domestic content rule compliance and 45 times advanced manufacturing credit eligibility. At 4 cents per watt and full nameplate utilization, Phase 1 alone could generate up to $84 million annually and 45 times production credits. But that is a steady state ceiling, not a year one number. New cell lines typically ramp up to 40 to 70% of nameplate capacity in their first year of commercial operation, and the 45X credit itself begins phasing down later this decade. The actual near-term credit capture will be a fraction of that ceiling figure. And even the ceiling is unconfirmed. FEOC restrictions under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act go beyond equity ownership. They include licensing arrangements, debt, board control and effective control tests. And Treasury has not yet issued the implementation guidance that would tell Canadian Solar whether its specific corporate structure clears those bars. Eligibility for the credits at Jeffersonville is legally unresolved. Compounding that, the plant is designed to be fed by wafers from Canadian Solar's Thailand operations. Those operations were among those swept into Commerce's 2023 anti-circumvention determination on Southeast Asian solar producers, and Thailand currently faces reciprocal tariffs that have been quoted as high as 36% as of this spring, though that rate has been a moving target. That input cost exposure is the vulnerability buried in the earnings call, and it could erode the margin advantage that company is publicly citing as its investment thesis. If you're supplying services, utilities, or components to this facility in Clark County, the FEOC guidance from Treasury is the single most material financial variable in the plant's business case, and it has not yet been resolved. So here's where these two threads actually meet. Both stories are built on federal policy decisions being made right now, one at the ITC, one at the Treasury. And neither outcome is academic for Indiana operators. A tariff remedy that reshapes the surface materials supply chain, a subsidy eligibility question that determines whether a 1,200 job facility in Clark County is financially durable. These are not parallel stories. They are the same story about supply chain exposure to federal policy timing. The operators who've already mapped which of their SKUs depend on engineered quartz versus natural stone and who have a pre-qualified secondary fabricator will be the ones who can actually move when the ruling drops. Knowing the policy mechanism without that prep work in place doesn't help. The same logic holds in Clark County. If you have a commercial relationship with the Jeffersonville facility, the question to answer now is what your contingency looks like if the 45X credit eligibility doesn't clear, or if Thai wafer tariffs compress the plant's input margins. Truth of the matter is, the facilities and supply chains being built in Indiana right now are only as durable as the federal policy decisions being made this week, and operators who've mapped their specific exposure before the rulings land will be the ones who can actually move when they do. Now, I don't run a manufacturing facility. I'm the CEO of Tactical Energy Group, an Indiana-based energy management technology provider. And one of the most important things I can do is stay on top of all the dynamics that affect the economics of making things in Indiana so we can consistently improve the solutions we bring to the manufacturing community. That's what TEG Daily is. I'm staying on top of the essential developments and bringing them to you, and I seriously hope that they're useful to you. So go ahead and share this brief with your team and subscribe to get daily updates just like this.